And welcome to our regular council meeting held on August 25th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. To get the meeting started, may I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. And a recommendation is that we go into a closed meeting to discuss Section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act, which is the former coal lane known as Beck Street, and that is under Section 239(2)C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favor? That carries unanimously, and we will reconvene at approximately 7 p.m. and open. I'd be looking for a motion to reconvene in open session at 7 p.m. May I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Sadhu. All those in favor, and that carries unanimously. And that is okay. I wasn't certain if it was one of those emergency alerts. I did just want to take a quick moment to welcome our new official CAO, Jeff Wilmer, for joining us in Wilmot. Council and myself are very excited and unanimously supported and endorsed you joining us, so we are happy to have you on board. And I do also want to say a quick thank you to both Harold Okrafka and all of CLT for helping guide us through and keep us floating while we were in transition. And also to that, I know a lot of staff are watching, and a huge thank you to all of you as Council has navigated through finding our new leadership. So with that, I will give Jeff a moment.
Thank you very much, Mayor Salonen. I'm honored to be here to work together with staff and council to serve the citizens of Wilmot Township. And I look forward to leading with respect and with cooperation, and looking forward to achieving good things together.
Thank you. And I will turn it over to Councillor Wilkinson for our land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you. And we have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral and Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth, that we should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, we are reminded of our important connection to this land, where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We do have some modifications to the agenda this evening. We have one special interest delegation on item 13.4, and that's Karen Dane, and I'll call on her once we do get to that item in our agenda, as well as we do have one removal item, and I will turn it over to CAO Wilmer.
Thank you, Mayor Salonen. So item 13.1 is the long-term financial statement regarding reserves and debt, and there is a possible discrepancy in the report, and we want to get that clarified before we bring this report to you.
Thank you. So with that, I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favour, and that carries unanimously. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest, councillors? Seeing none, we do have minutes from our July 28th regular council meeting to be adopted as presented. May I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Martin. And any comments, revisions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favour? That carries unanimously. And we do have one presentation this evening, and that is from Sustainable Waterloo Region, and it's providing their community update. So I will invite Tova Davidson, who is the Executive Director of Sustainable Waterloo Region, to present. And Tova, I believe you're joining us virtually today. There you are. Thank you for joining us, Tova, and you're good to start.
Wonderful. Just let me know when you can see my slides, if that's okay. Just a minute, right here. Let me just get them into, sorry for the technical difficulty. I will get them.
No problem.
I'm trying to get them. Review, slideshow. There we go. Tell me when they come up for you.
See that you're sharing the screen? I just don't. Oh, there they are.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me and for letting me present to council today. This is my annual update to council, and I love presenting to the Township of Wilmot. You've got some great folks there, and you're doing some really good things in the community and among your staff, and really happy to see your new CAO back in the fold with things. To give the update for this year, we always start with an overview of the impact of our work over the past year. And we're looking at 2024 impacts. And this slide is one that we really think is an important one to look at all the different ways that we're engaging in the community and the supports that we bring. We had in this past year over 430 volunteers, lots and lots of people engaging with us. And a lot of people think SWR is a massive organization, but we're actually a large volunteer group as well. We're a small staff team with a large community movement behind us. We have, however, been around for 15 years in 2024, and since 2009, we've had more than 180 members. We've had lots and lots of events posted. We've planted more than 3,000 trees, but the most important number for me is the one up at the very top. It's talking about those volunteers, and we've actually had more than 750,000 hours given to this community to help us create a sustainable future through SWR. We also, as a staff team, decided we wanted to give back to the community, and we did 15 acts of give back to the community. So we went out and we delivered food for House of Friendship. We gave out treats at the holidays to people using transit. We planted forests, of course, among a lot of other things, just to say thank you to this whole community for helping us do this really incredible and important work. Every year we report on the Evolve 1 building, and I'm really happy to say that once again we are back above net into the net positive realm with this building. Only 1 year has ever been below, and that was because of the wildfires that happened in 2003. The building generated 108% of the energy used on site, and that means that the building actually has no energy costs to operate, which is an incredible model. And it was all done within the developer's approved budget, proving that sustainable buildings are absolutely possible and really important and ways forward for business and for the community. Our impact network operates always around 70 or so member organizations. We ran 8 events this year with more than 500 attendees coming to those events. And among the 70 plus organizations that we work with, including the Township of Wilmot, we have a commitment to 60,000 tons of greenhouse gases being reduced. But in fact, that group has reduced more than 82,000 tons of greenhouse gases. And for people, that's sort of a nebulous, what does that mean? So we like to put it into a sort of conceptualizable idea. It means that it's the equivalent of more than 18,500 cars off the road. So that's a lot with this group of committed organizations. We also launched a partnership with Explore Waterloo Region, of which Wilmot is part as of one of our communities, in that we are helping them to help the whole events, sporting, conferences, etc., hotels, etc., to become more sustainable, to attract more businesses and events to our community. It's something that this sector is asking for and that we're hearing a lot of demand for. And so we work with a variety of locations across the region to have baseline data and then be able to offer net zero events through offsets through this partnership. The climate action work is the community climate work. So what do we need to do out in the community as a whole? And as you are well aware, we have a target of 80 by 50. And I know that there's been some commitments from staff to come up with a plan, hearkening into the Transform WR strategy. So what can Wilmot and should you be doing? And that works very nicely with this campaign that we launched, With You We Can. Climate action is a community activity and a reach out into the community, and it's all of our responsibility. We did a re-inventory in 2024. We brought it to this council for the 2022 greenhouse gas inventory. We have reduced our impact by 12%, which is great from a 2010 baseline year, but we are not on target. And this graph shows you all the places where those reductions have come. And so really strong action needs to be taken to get us into back on track to where we need to go. This collective has launched a new community collective and governance model where we have a community leadership table which includes chambers of commerce, public health, Indigenous representation, post-secondary, as well as public education, and many, many others. We also have a management committee with representation from the municipalities, and then our staff team, of course, and we have a number of action teams to get things moving and actual actions happening in this community. Our microforest program is one that lots of people love and that we are really proud to have launched. In 2024, we planted 16 forests, which sequestered about 3,500 kilograms of carbon, and a lot of these are in schoolyards. So 10 of those 16 forests were in schoolyards. We had more than 1,800 students come out teaching them all about the importance of forests for people, for the planet, and giving them essentially an outdoor education center in their very own school. We also had a program that we ran with Uvaro and Boundless Accelerator to help re-educate people in the areas of business and sustainability, clean tech growth. In this year, SWR has now launched a program which started in 2024 through the Circular Innovation Council in a partnership with them, where we now offer organics diversion for anybody that is not served by regional collection. So that can be small businesses, large businesses, multi-unit residential areas. Our first step in this process, of course, is food rescue, getting the usable food into the hands of those who can use it. We then take that compost, we take it to an anaerobic digester, create renewable natural gas from it, cleaning our energy systems, and then the byproduct of that is compost, which goes into farmers' fields. We also launched an AI tool, which we, a little tongue-in-cheek, call the Eco Magic Super Tool. And what this does is it actually allows people, including your staff at the township, to be able to use this tool to go in and say, this is the building, here's our energy use, we need to reduce this, here's the things we've done, tell me what we could do. And then you can ask it for what's the financial return for that, and how do I sell this to the CFO, et cetera, et cetera. And this is meant to help people and businesses get moving and to understand what is possible and where their best impact is. And this was funded through a partnership with the local community foundation. We've also launched the Frameworks program, a building innovation exchange, and this one is run in partnership with Grand Valley Construction Association, and it is actually designed by and for the building and development industry to actually offer the supports for them to be ready to meet what the building code is projected to be in 2030, and that is net zero. So we are hoping to support and bring educational opportunities, resources, best practices, and all of that engagement. And as I said, it is being led in partnership with the sector. So that's the end of my presentation. I really love this quote, and I couldn't help myself but include it. Over these years, all of these great people that have come forward and come together and helped us, including the people at the Township of Wilmot, your amazing staff over the years, to help make this world a better place. And so we thank them for that, and you for your support.
Thank you very much, Tova, and I know you're on your traveling road show right now going to all of the local municipalities, so really appreciate you making time for us. Councillors, are there any questions? We'll go to Councillor Martin.
Through you, Mayor Salonen, thank you, Tova, for your presentation. I really appreciated it. I actually have a few questions. How many am I allowed? Well, so far the mayor's letting me go. I guess you can stop me if I have too many. The one is under the microforest. Were you including the numbers from Let's Tree Wilmot?
No, the Let's Tree Wilmot is a different program than ours. We work in urban spaces primarily, and we have little pockets. There's actually a community of practice for microforests. So those are our numbers alone, just what SWR has planted. And we're really proud of that we've planted 36 forests so far, all without any funds coming from any big bodies. We just kind of hobble them together and invite people to come into this project with us.
Thank you, Tova, for that, because I was assuming, I saw New Hamburg there, and so I was assuming that what was done there is not part of Let's Tree Wilmot. So
No.
Shall I continue, or are there others that... Okay, so thank you. Another question I have is and I don't know if it's a fair question to ask, is what recommendations you have for our township, or what specifically could our township be working on? So I won't say that you need to answer that one, because I realize in some ways we have to answer that ourselves, and around the table we do have to come up with things, and I realize that. But regarding your Eco Magic Super Tool, is that something that the township can use in terms of our administration?
Absolutely. So actually, I am going to give a little hint for that the first question that wasn't a question, as well as the EcoMagic Super Tool. So the EcoMagic Super Tool is absolutely available to your staff. As members of the Impact Network, this is a tool that is online. You just reach out to our team. We can make sure you know where it is in our member link resources. And yes, you could put in all of the energy data, greenhouse gas reporting that you're doing through us. You can even put in pictures. You can put in, here's the things we've done in the past. You can put in your parameters, what it is you're looking to do, your timeline for return on investment, et cetera. And it will actually give you a list of actions that you should consider. To the question about what should be happening in the community, I would encourage you to look at the Transformed WR strategy, which was accepted by this council and all others across the region. It is the plan for what do we need to do for accelerating community climate action. And there is a tool on the Climate Action WR website, which shows you all of the actions, who's responsible for which, what the status is of each of them, and it's a great place for you to go and see it. And it has been recognized actually across Canada as one of the very best reporting tools in Canada for community climate work.
And through you, Mayor Salonen, so my last question, Tova, would be on the Cora group. I was quite impressed by that slide. Do you know if there were any governments, like municipal governments, that gave encouragement? It's certainly something that comes up where citizens will say that our township should be doing something in terms of development and encouraging developers to work in this regard. So I was quite impressed by that. I don't know if there was any government involvement. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, so the Evolve One building actually was a concept that for us originally came out of our strategic planning. And we did a business case which did involve municipalities sharing ideas, opportunities, challenges, things to consider. And then when we reached out to the community to see who wanted to work with us on it, we then partnered with the core group, who was already on a sustainable buildings journey. And so we did a lot of design charrettes and other places to gather information both from the building and development sector, but also from municipalities. So there was some work there that was done. It actually made the process for approvals of that building a lot easier because of the pre-engagement that happened with the municipalities and their understanding of what we were intending. We also, SWR, not the Cora group, but SWR was supported through the City of Waterloo as well to be a funding partner to get some funds through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, because it had to flow through a municipality. And so there was some support there as well.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay, seeing none, thank you again very much, Tova, for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Have a beautiful evening.
You too. In terms of delegations this evening, council, we do have one delegate, as I already noted, and we will call on them once we get to item 10.2.1. In terms of correspondence, there were no correspondence. Consent agenda items. Would anybody like to pull any items before we move in second? Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would just like to pull item, pardon me, hang on, I lost it. Sorry, item 12.2, discussing the fully managed IT services.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So through the chair, I suppose to CAO Wilmer, just curious the impact this will have on us. I mean, do we fully know what the pros and cons will be of not having an individual dedicated to this role at a high level? I mean, I certainly can see advantages to having an outsourced MSP, because you would have multiple brains and multiple heads working on a project. So that's sort of question one is, did you weigh that? And then item number two would be, do we still anticipate having an individual and resource available to staff on site?
Through the mayor, yes, I think you've hit the nail on the head that the key advantage to working with a service provider is they've got breadth of skill sets that we would not have if we had one person working as a manager with us. And it is our intention to continue to have one dedicated IT person on staff that's available to us during working hours and beyond. She's a very hard worker, in addition to having the on-call. So yeah, we're persuaded certainly that this is a good cost. It survives the cost-benefit analysis very, very well.
Councillor Dunstall?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. CEO Wilmer, you and I had a discussion earlier about this, and I just wanted to make sure that I got it out. One of the concerns that I had was I had worked in an organization that went this route, and it didn't necessarily work out the best, not having someone hands-on, totally responsible for it. So my question to you was, what method are we going to use to ensure that this is actually the best course of action and it's a benefit compared to having someone on staff? Are we going to be able to monitor the success of the program?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Dunstall. So measuring success is challenging in an issue like this, so my commitment to council and to the community is that whenever staff is working with the consultant, we will have top of mind. Are we getting what we are expecting to get? And we are confident that that the provider in this case does have a good track record, but also the contract that we're recommending here, which is a 2-year contract with our option to extend, puts them sort of on notice that they'll be motivated to do a good job for us, so that they can see the contract extended. So we're confident that that's a system that's going to serve us well.
Thank you. Is there some way of, is there some kind of vendor scorecard where we will be reviewing them and maybe quarterly or twice a year where we could get some feedback from our employees as to how successful they are? Is there some kind of vendor scorecard that we'll be monitoring them with?
Through the Mayor, I'm not aware of one, but it's a suggestion we can certainly take a look at and try to implement at the administrative level.
Any other questions on 12.2, councillors? Okay, seeing none, I would ask for a mover and a seconder for items 12.1 and 12.2. Moved by Councillor Wilkinson, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. And on to reports. So 13.1 was removed from the agenda. So we'll go into 13.2, and this is the amendment to the fireworks bylaw. The recommendation is that the report COR-2025-39 amendments to the firework bylaw be received for information, and that council consider bylaw 29-49 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2023-17 being a bylaw to prohibit the sale and use of firecrackers and to regulate the sale and use of fireworks in the Township of Wilmot. May I have a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Dunstall, and I will invite our Manager of Legislative Services and Municipal Clerk, Caitlin Boss, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Mayor Salonen. So the amendments to the fireworks bylaw presented today stem from the June Committee of the Whole cycle, where Council debated the proposed amendments that were provided to us by the Regional Fireworks Bylaw Review Group, which included the cities and townships within Waterloo Region. As a result of those deliberations in June, the recommended amendments to our fireworks bylaw include decreasing the number of permitted days to only the holidays included in our bylaw, adding permitted times to set off fireworks, and increasing our set fines to $1,000, as well as asking staff to bring back recommendations regarding how the bylaw staff will enforce these changes. The consolidated version of the bylaw was included with the report, and I will note that at this time only the items in red are what are being considered as updates to the bylaw. The rest of the text in black is what is currently our fireworks bylaw. And then in addition to those changes, Aaron Merritt, the Supervisor of Municipal Law Enforcement, did include in the written report information on education and enforcement strategies related to the proposed amendments. I'm happy to address any questions.
Any questions, councillors? Okay, seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? And Councillor Cressman, sorry, I just wanted to know, were you in favor or opposed? There's a lag of time on the camera there. And you're muted, but if I'm lip reading correctly, I think you said you were in favor? Yes? Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. That has carried then. On to report 13.3, and the recommendation is that report COR-2025-44 Enterprise Resource Management Project update be received for information, and that staff be directed to develop an RFP to retain the services of an RFP implementation partner to deliver the implementation of a Microsoft Business Center-based solution, and that a budget increase of $500,000 be approved for the ERP project to be funded from the Infrastructure Renewal Reserve Fund. To get this on the floor, may I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson, and I will invite CAO Wilmer to introduce this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So that, as set out, this is another stage in the Enterprise Resource Management Project. It's been to Council a number of times before to advance to different stages, and we do have a staff person working on the project internally now. So really now it's about getting an implementation partner. And the business case for this is on the last page of the report. And just to summarize very quickly, the intent here is that there would be significant time savings that would be found on many processes, which would be automated instead of being manual as they are now.
Are there any questions or comments at this time, councillors? Okay, Councillor Wilkinson?
Through the chair, to make a comment, I mean, this is exciting. This is good. Seeing that we're going to be able to bring the software up to date and have some tools available to staff to tackle a variety of ongoing issues and nagging issues. I think there's a lot of great things in the report that talked about service level increases that will just simply result from having this updated software. As well as one thing I would highlight to the community, we're talking about potentially having sort of a self-service portal or a citizen check-in portal, so you can do some things on your own or gather information. So fully support this and hope to see the project implemented quickly and smoothly, and we'll see. It's ERP, but good luck.
Any other questions or comments, councillors? I do have one question. Just in that there is currently a transition in that department, so in terms of having somebody manage, I know that we have our ERP consultant, but if we were to defer this, confirming that the new department head would like to proceed with this particular RFP, is that something you would advise? Is that something that's feasible, or just curious on your thoughts?
To the mayor, that it certainly is feasible. It would pause the project likely for a couple of months, but that is still feasible. I think one consideration for council to be aware of is that quite a number of municipalities are looking to make this kind of move at the same time, and so it may be that the implementation partners are stretched thin if we wait, but I don't think it's not problematic if we decide to pause for a short time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, in that case, I will call the vote then. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. All right, and on to 13.4, and this is report CS-2025-19, and it's the Prime Minister's Path Reinstallation costs, which are to be received for information. To get this on the floor, may I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Martin, and I will call on our Director of Community Services, Director Catania, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Mayor Salonen. This report provides council with information related to the preliminary budget associated with reinstalling the PMP statues. Estimates have been provided at about $7,000 to $10,000 per base. However, during an RFP process, site visits will determine access, statue placement, foundation work, remediation, and transportation. The procurement process will establish a more refined budget with competitive pricing. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Director. Councillors, are there any technical questions for Director Catania? We do have one delegate to come up on this item. Okay, not seeing any questions at this time, so I will invite our delegate, Karen Dane, who is joining us in person this evening. Thank you, Karen, for joining us, and you will have 7 minutes.
Members of Wilmot Council, Thank you for being on Wilmot Council. Thank you for the opportunity to ask questions and voice concerns regarding the PMP. I'm not the only one that still has PMP concerns. On the Township of Wilmot Facebook page, there was a media release post made on July 29th with the headline, "Council concludes Prime Minister's path deliberations." There are at least 106 comments so far. I encourage you to check it out if you have not already done so. I acknowledge the PMP was a mess when your council term started. For a PMP that from the start was to cost Wilmot taxpayers nothing, the amount the PMP has cost taxpayers to date is extremely disappointing. I find it concerning that this council is currently discussing additional PMP taxpayer costs. From what I know, this is going against what the majority of Wilmot Township residents want and the LURA recommendations. The motion this council passed on July 29th deviates quite a bit from the LURA recommendations. There was a long list of things that were to occur before any statues went back up that will now not be occurring before statues can be put back up. I feel the spirit of the LURA recommendations is being lost in the process. If council decides to fund putting up any of the existing 9 statues, they will be deviating even more from the LURA recommendations. This council retained and allowed the LURA consultants to exceed the initial budget of $60,000. Please let Wilmot Township know if $102,367 was the final total for the LURA consultants, or is it more? The staff report for reinstallation costs for 9 statues with an estimated cost of $78,000 could be substantially higher with the number of unknowns involved and possible items that have not been included. No vandalism deterrents, such as lighting and security camera cost, have been included, even though the Sir John A. Macdonald statue has been vandalized 3 times in the past and is to be relocated to a less prominent location within the park that requires individuals to make a self-directed decision to visit. Since the Sir John A. Macdonald statue is being relocated because its original location was deemed to be inappropriate, all the more reason why the taxpayers should not have to pay for its reinstallation. Statues 6, 7, 8, and 9 were never installed, so it is not a reinstallation cost for these statues, but an initial installation cost. All the more reason why the taxpayer should not have to pay to get statue 6, 7, 8, and 9 up. Future expected PMP costs should not be a surprise to anyone with what has occurred so far. Please clarify to Wilmot taxpayers who will be paying for the following possible additional PMP cost: repair of damage caused from vandalism, legal fees. There have been past legal fees of $12,657 concerning issues with the past Wilmot Township Createscape legal agreement. Castle Kilbride expenses are a responsibility of Wilmot taxpayers. Council is aware that I have tried several times since January 2025 without success to obtain the cost funded by the taxpayers for Castle Kilbride for the previous 5 years. I wanted to bring Castle Kilbride's cost to Council's attention before they spent any more money on the PMP. Recently, a councillor told me he thinks it's about $300,000 per year. From an article in the May 1st, 2025 edition of the Wilmot Tavistock Gazette, it appears Wilmot Council did not have $25,000 available to access the $25,000 grant to pay for $50,000 needed for an artwork restoration at Castle Kilbride. I do not understand why this has happened, especially when it appears councils can dip into resources to fund additional PMP cost. For almost 3 years, this council has paid to continue to keep these statues in storage. The new location of the Sir John A. Macdonald statue cannot be determined until there is a volunteer committee in place.
1 minute remaining.
Therefore, I do not understand the rationale behind a sudden rush to consider spending additional substantial taxpayers' dollars to get the statues up to avoid additional storage fees. Perhaps this is being considered to ensure the 9 statues are put back up, since future donor contributions remain a huge unknown. If this is the case, I don't think it is appropriate. To avoid future storage costs, please look into the storing the 9 statues on township property until the PMP Volunteer Committee raises the funds to put them back up. Surely, with all the property and buildings Wilmot Township owns, there must be some room on township property where these 9 statues made to withstand outdoor weather conditions can be stored. Please work on getting the application-based volunteer committee formed without delay. Then the volunteer committee can proceed to work on determining the new location for the Sir John A. Macdonald statue. As well, having a volunteer committee in place will enabling fundraising to start to get statues up at no cost to the taxpayer, providing there's enough donor interest. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Karen, for joining us. Councillors, any questions for our delegate? Okay, I don't see any. I do just want to clarify that tonight we were receiving this for information. The decision as to if council wants this to actually be funded by the tax base or not has yet to be decided. So just wanted to make that clear to both yourself and everybody watching. Okay, thank you very much for delegating. And any other questions or comments on this report? Like I just said, it is to be received for information. Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. What I wanted to, thank you, Karen, for speaking. And I do understand that there is a grave concern from our tax base, and rightly so. But I also understand that we have contributed to $220,000 to this project, and to walk away from it doesn't make sense. And so I was wondering if Township, if we could put something out to the public. I know I have had some people actually ask if there was some place where they would contribute. This was something that they were very passionate about, and they want to see them up. And so I was wondering, is there any way that we can put something out to our residents? I think one person has already sent in a check to see that if we could raise some money to help cover that $78,000.
We'll go to Director Catania for that one.
Through Mayor Sullivan to Councillor Dunstall, there are definitely avenues where we can advertise and promote just for the, I don't want to call it the Prime Minister's Path, but yes, for the reinstallation of the statues and any type of sponsorship or donation opportunities that can come in, and it would obviously come into the township and housed with the finance department.
So then can I ask that process be started? Is there something I need to do, clerk, to get that going, or a motion or direction, or?
Certainly staff can take that as direction. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Through you, Mayor Salonen, I'm not sure if this question is for you, Director Catania, or to whom I would address it. I guess I have this question about the process. Because I don't know if it's fair to put the responsibility onto community services to take over the process, but the working group, for example, like the volunteer governance, when would we start applications for that, or who would initiate that? And so then, as Councillor Dunstall has recommended, we could start the process on accepting donations for funding. But I'm just curious if anybody, I don't know if there needs to be further direction from council, or if we already have a process in place that I haven't understood.
Through the Mayor to Councillor Martin, no further direction is needed. What Council decided and made a resolution at the end of July is all the direction that staff need. We will be moving on it as quickly as possible.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Wilkinson?
Through the chair, I'm pleased with what I'm hearing this evening in terms of where things are moving. And I share some of the same concerns that our delegation had this evening, but also understand that there's a desire to also see the statues restored. And personally, I'm torn between I have the opinion that we had torn them down, and I use we from the sense of the township. So on principle alone, I'm in favor of seeing them restored through that same function. However, there's obviously other things that need to be discussed. So I think what we're hearing tonight, and I'm very much in favor of, is we receive this information, we understand a rough estimate of what things may cost, and let this be a call to the community that if you have a vested interest in this or want to find a way to make this happen, I mean, it sounds like we're willing to listen and want to listen. So I guess that would be a call out, and then I guess we revisit this at a different date is what I'm understanding. So I think it's all positive at this point.
Councillor Sidhu?
Thank you. Just a quick comment. As I was opposed to spending money from township to reinstall this just further, that's credibility to, not credibility, sorry, but seeing the cost of $78,000 and knowing the kind of financial hardships we're under, I will continue to say that I don't think township's funds should be spent on a one-time capital cost at conservatively saying $78,000, but we all know this is the rough estimate. Prices typically don't go down, they only go up from there.
Any other? Councillor Cressman?
Yes, I realize the lag in computer connection creates difficulty, but I concur with Councillor, through you, Mayor, Councillor Wilkinson's conversation or point that to a degree the township bears responsibility for those that were taken down and had been paid for by volunteers to erect originally. I see no responsibility on behalf of the township for those statues that were never erected, and that would I would see that properly borne by donors. So if we saw a divide similar to what the delegation Karen Dane pointed out, I see that as making a divide between a distinction between those two. And so that's just my observation, kind of sitting on this one. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, just a reminder, I will call the vote, but it's going to be just to receive this for information. In case you're watching and would like to fund this, please do reach out. We will find a way to make that happen. And other than that, at a later date, council will be making a decision formally on this. So all those in favor of receiving for information? And that carries unanimously. And we do have our bylaws, which is item 14.1 through to 14.4 to be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council. May I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? That carries. And on to announcements. Councillors, were there any announcements that you wanted to share? Councillor Martin.
Through you, Mayor Salonen, this is an announcement about a local business. We've had some discussion about level 3 EV electric vehicle chargers, And so it's more so to mention that the Arcadian business on the edge of New Hamburg is in the process of installing level 3 fast chargers, and their plan is to have them finished by November, and they're open then to the public after that. So it's for information purposes to say that there will be some level 3 chargers in the New Hamburg area.
That's great news. Thank you. Any other announcements at this time, councillors? Okay, I did want to make note, congratulations to everybody involved in Mopar Fest and in Cruise Night that happened quite recently. I know I popped down briefly on my way out of town to see Cruise Fest setting up, and it looked like it was headed for a great night, and I've heard really great reviews about the whole weekend. And I also wanted to note that I had the pleasure of attending the AMO conference with Councillor Martin and Councillor Cressman, as well as Director Okrafka. And that was up in Ottawa this year, and we had multiple delegations that I think were quite successful with different ministries advancing priorities of Wilmot. So hopefully we will see some of those return in spades, and hopefully some investment dollars in Wilmot coming from our effort here. Other than that, Councillor Martin?
Through you, Mayor Salonen, I just make mention of the New Hamburg Fall Fair coming up, because I know we'd have one more council meeting just before, but...
Very good. And yes, if you do want to enter anything, be sure to look around town. There are all of the brochures, including what items you can enter in the fair.
And I do notice the New Hamburg Fall Fair is still looking for volunteers. So if anybody has some volunteer time for that weekend, they could use some volunteers.
Fantastic. All right. On that, I'm not seeing any other announcements. Okay. In terms of our business arising from close, the recommendation is that council direct staff to proceed as directed. May I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson. All those in favour? That carries unanimously. And may I have a mover and a seconder for a confirmatory bylaw? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? Carries unanimously. And adjournment, Councillor Cressman, and seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favour? That carries. Have a great evening, everyone.